There are clearly good movies and clearly bad movies, but sometimes we like to stick our arm into a shark and get it bitten off just in order to find out what is everything in the middle.
I feel like that needed, it was good, but I feel like it needed but sometimes we have to stick our arm, that didn't even work, stick our arm in a shark and get it bitten off, to find out everything that's in the middle. I want to see your actor.
This is bad, good.
Hey, Carter, we're sinking, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. Are you sure it was just 3 sharks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we're not going to fight anymore. We're going to pull together and we're going to find a way to get out of here. First, we're going to seal off this
I don't like sticking my arm in the mouth of a shark. I just
but what if it's a shark that's smart?
Or what if it's to find out whether a movie's good, bad, or bad, good?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you do
No,
it
I'm not.
for that?
I'm not that dedicated.
Well, you were dedicated enough to watch this crap movie, so.
Yeah, listen, we've had to watch everybody's crap movie. It was just now my turn, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, everyone out there, and thank you for joining this week's episode of Good, Bad, Bad, Good. If you couldn't tell from our little banter so far and the movie clips, this week we watched Deep Blue Sea. Before we jump into the movie, how are we doing today? How are you doing, Kai? How are you doing, Brian? Kai, do you want to go first?
You
Brian,
go
do you want to
first.
go first? Kai, go first.
I'm doing well. I actually took a day off today. I work on the weekends usually, and so on my day is off for like Monday or Tuesday, and everybody else is doing productive things. So then I get into this feeling of like, fuck, I gotta do productive things too, and I'll like send out emails and do this and I do that. But today I got stoned and saw Avatar.
Oh.
And the night before I watched Deep Blue Sea, and this was Avatar: The Way of Water. So I've seen a lot of water explosions.
Your fingers
in the
look a little
2
pruny
days.
too.
They
actually.
are very pruny. No, so I've had a very relaxed day full of movie going and popcorn, So I'm
Nice.
feeling peachy. How are
Awesome.
you guys doing?
It was a very nasty rainy day here in Austin. So it kind of was kind of a crappy day, but it was a very productive day. I filmed 5 videos at work today. And maybe one day I will let you all see them on social media. Thank you.
Is it the one that you shared?
Yeah,
today?
because that was a good video.
No, thank you. No, I did not also edit the videos that I filmed today. That was filmed and edited 2 weeks ago. I also don't remember what video I shared.
It was someone cooking in their kitchen.
Yes, it was. It was a
I don't know if
cake.
that narrows it down since it's Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It was a gingerbread cake. I remember now.
Yes,
And it was pretty
yes.
tasty too, I will say.
Yeah,
Trav, how are you
Travis.
doing?
Good. For those of you who don't know, we are recording this in December.
And on a Monday.
So happy holidays to everyone out there 2 weeks later. 2 months later.
2 months later. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Or
Merry
happy,
Christmas in March.
It could be a
It'll be
happy
March,
early
as-
holidays for 2023.
So really, we
Happy
should
St.
be...
Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is in March, right?
Yeah, we should also
Happy
be...
St. Patrick's Day.
And happy birthday to me.
And happy birthday to
birthday to
Kai.
you.
And happy birthday to
Right now
Brian.
it's 3 months early, but I like it. Wait,
Thanks.
Brian's in...
No, mine's in April.
When this comes
April.
out, it'll be
Yeah.
close.
It'll
Ish.
be close.
Gotcha.
I'll
Yeah.
allow it.
Yeah. Regardless of the day that you're listening to this, go to Brian's page on Instagram and just tell him happy birthday.
Yeah.
Gazinga.
I'm into that.
See, he doesn't listen to our episodes. This happened last season, Brian.
Yeah, no, I know.
And then
But I
when
forgot.
our episode dropped, I texted you and was like, "Happy birthday, Brian!"
I hadn't
and you were
listened
like,
to it yet.
You thought I was an asshole for
Brian,
not
you don't listen to
remembering that
any
your
of them.
birthday was
Stop.
in
No,
the
first of all,
spring.
I'm pretty sure Trav was the one that was like, "It's not his birthday, is it?" And I was like, "No, man, it's April." So Trav didn't remember it either.
I hadn't listened at that point yet to that week's episode.
Ooh, sick burn, bro.
See, we all need to listen to the episodes because we're the only ones. So if we're not listening to them,
Excuse
no
me?
one else is.
Excuse me?
Just
I
joking.
listened to
Just
each
joking. Hello, our dedicated fan base.
I listened
We
to
got it.
each episode on 3 different podcast apps, okay?
That's what I'm
I believe
saying.
it.
I listened to it on Pocket Pocket Cast, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So just to make sure, if I had a Spotify account, I would listen to it on Spotify too. It's funny you say that though, Kai, because I was recently talking to my mom, and I was like, "So what do you think of the last what?"
I said congratulations.
For recently just speaking with you.
I was recently talking to my mom because she also saw The Rental. And if you don't know, if you're new to this podcast, last season we did the movie The Rental, and my mom actually watched it. So I was like, what did you think of the podcast? It came out a week and a half ago on The Rental. And then she's like, oh, I'm finishing The Village.
And you were like, Mom, that was 8 weeks ago.
That was the season premiere.
Wait, so does that mean that one of the 50 listeners is not your mom?
No, and
great.
that's what was heartbreaking. I was like, wait,
No, it's
so my mom's not even watching it?
But if we still have, well, we don't have to talk about how many people are actually listening to this. Let's move on,
It's
shall we?
millions.
So yes, of the 1,500 people that
There we
usually
go.
listen and watch, I mean, you could clearly see everyone's listening on the apps and not on this YouTube video based off of the likes down below. Anyway, before we jump into this amazing movie picked by Sir Brian Ossup,
Thank you.
we
Sir.
shall get a plot
Brian, you've
synopsis.
been knighted? I didn't know.
No, but I am a lord, actually. True story. I own land in Scotland. Me and Dav do. So we are officially, by Scottish law, referred to as Lord and Lady Brian and Davio.
Wow.
It just happened a few weeks ago.
Congratulations,
maybe 6-8
Lord
weeks ago,
Brian.
something like that. Thank you. Yeah, so if you guys can now call me Lord Brian from now on, that'd be great.
Done.
They own like a foot of land. in
It's a few
Scotland.
square feet, but it doesn't matter.
I want to own a few
I'm sure you
square
probably can.
feet, so
I'm sure
I
you could
could
probably
just
also,
call
like-
myself lady.
Why don't you buy yourself a star?
Kai,
Great.
I'll text
I
you.
think those are maybe a little more expensive. I would
Kai,
guess.
I'll text you the website.
Great, please
I would
do.
think
Yeah.
Scotland land is more expensive than
Then
a
a star.
Because a star, like, oh, just pick one. Yeah, sure, that one's mine. But in Scotland, like, you can actually go to the geographical location and be like, this is my
can.
1 square foot of land. Get
Yeah.
off of it.
And no one can take it from me.
Go dance in your kilt somewhere
But
else.
if I'm not Scottish, can I buy land?
I'm not Scottish.
Yeah, and Dov's not Scottish
No.
at all. I thought maybe they're okay. All right, I'm gonna go
No.
buy.
It's so funny
some
that you
Scottish
said that.
land.
And I was like, oh, shoot. Yeah, maybe Brian is Scottish.
Nope.
Well, that's white
He
people.
ain't.
You never know.
Well,
That's
he
true.
also has red glasses. So I'm like, red. He's maybe he's a ginger as well. I don't know.
He's a scoot.
I do have a little red in my beard.
Okay. We digress. Plot synopsis
We
from Google.
digress. We never even gressed to degress. Digress.
We have not gressed. Google, let's go for it.
Hey Google, what's the plot synopsis of the movie just Deep Blue Sea? Part 1.
On the website imdb.com, they say, set around 1,950 feet, the Deep Blue Sea tells the story of Hester Collier, the younger wife of High Court Judge Sir William Collier, who has
That's
embarked
not
on
it.
a passionate affair with Freddie Page, a handsome
That's not
young
it.
former RAF pilot troubled by his memories of the war. That the mix of
I
fear and
fucking
excitement
knew
once
there
in his
was
life
another
is.
movie called Deep
People
Blue
also
Sea.
ask me,
No, there's
Or
one
what
called
happens to
The
Hester in
Deep
the
Blue
Deep
Sea.
Blue Sea? Want to hear the answer?
No, I want the plot synopsis of Deep Blue Sea.
On an island research facility, Dr. Susan McAllister is harvesting the brain tissue of DNA-altered sharks as a possible cure for Alzheimer's disease. A routine procedure goes awry and a shark starts attacking the researchers. With sharks outnumbering their human captors, McAllister and her team must figure out a way to stop them from escaping to the ocean and breeding.
Thank you, Google.
You're very welcome, Travis.
So if you didn't know-
How's your name? Fancy.
So if you didn't know, there's apparently a movie called The Deep Blue Sea.
So, you
which
know
was
what's
not
funny?
what we watched.
Was it yesterday that you texted us, Kai, asking if it was the Samuel L. Jackson? So I went on IMDb
No, I said
afterwards.
LL Cool J, but yes.
Or sorry, that's what I meant. And it turns out Trav, you were like, I thought you were joking about Deep Blue Sea 2, Deep Blue Sea 3,
No,
Deep Blue
I
Sea 4, the
wasn't.
Deepest Blue. Yeah, there actually is a Deep Blue Sea 2 and
Oh,
3.
you didn't know
I had no idea. There also are 2 movies called The Deep Blue Sea. One in 1955 and one in 2011.
Yeah, that's why I was confused because
I didn't know
I
any
just
of that.
wanted to make sure we were watching the shark movie.
And then you saw the
Yeah.
other ones, and you're like, there's no way Brian picked a movie from the 1950s.
Hell
I-
no.
I
I was only
just-
10 years
yeah.
old then. I don't remember movies from that time.
I was just bringing up my mom again, apparently. I was just talking to my mom because I talk to her a lot about.
I think you bring her up a lot in this podcast.
No, I don't.
Which is why she should be listening.
I do not.
Or she should be on it.
Yeah, let's bring on Travis's mama.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do an
We should
episode
do
of General Hospital and then bring your mom on and let her go buck wild.
Anyway, the reason I bring it up is because Brian's like nearly her age. And
I am.
And-
I almost just spit out all my coffee. That was
And-
great timing.
I tried. And I was talking about a movie from the I was talking about a movie from the 1950s and how it was black and white. And she's like, "Why would I want to watch a movie that's black and white?"
Agreed.
There's so many good movies
Did
that
you
are black
say,
and
didn't
white.
you used to live in the times of black and white? The world wasn't always in color.
No, I mean,
As a kid, I used to watch old movies and I used to think that, like, you know, when you're conceptualizing that this is not like footage from someone's life as a child, I like for a little while was like, oh, it was like Pleasantville. Like there didn't used to be color
Oh, Jesus.
in the world. You know, smart
wait,
kid. I
you
was
saw
this very
Pleasantville and then
smart
thought
kid.
Pleasantville was from?
No. I'm saying like when I was really young, like 5 years old, and I'd see a movie in black and white, I would be like, did the world just used to be in black and white?
Oh, like the actual world.
The actual world.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, because I was very intelligent, highly.
Got it.
Still.
I just always thought if it was black and white, it was like super old. So like I saw
Well-
Psycho and thought that it was like really, really old, which it is. It came out in 1960, but like it was a choice to shoot it in black and white. It wasn't like because they didn't have color film back
Right.
then. I digress. Let's jump into our verdicts.
Let's do it.
What, Brian?
Bad, good.
Okay.
I
Brian.
said good, bad.
I also say good, bad.
I was heavily debating here, my notes, as you can see.
I'll be honest. I don't know how anybody could say this is a bad, good movie because there's not a lot of good
Well, Kai just
going
did.
on here.
Kai just
I know.
There's not a
We'll get into it.
did. Okay. So we are going to be breaking down the movie into three different categories. The first one up is going to be plot, synopsis, script / screenplay. All of those are the same thing, but essentially what is going on in the movie. I once again wrote down the director, writer, DP, and composer for the film, and did not actually look those up again.
because after watching this, you didn't care.
I wrote those words down again, second week in a row, and I
Brian's
didn't
on
actually
it.
look them up.
Brian's on it.
But I have the IMDb open right now.
I do know that it's
Rennie Harlan.
Yes, it was directed by Rennie Harlan.
and it's a Village Roadshow picture, which I like a lot of stuff that they do
Interesting.
usually.
I mean,
so I was.
This
I
guy
thought you were going
did
to say a village
Nightmare.
wrote it because there's like six.
This guy did
No.
a Nightmare on Elm
He's a
Street
very-
4. That's how good he
Wait,
is.
this guy did. Oh hell
The
yeah!
director.
I'm trying to remember what happened in the fourth one.
I have no idea. I've never seen it. He also did the
I think
worst
he
Die
was
Hard
being
movie,
facetious.
Die Hard 2.
It's so funny because Rennie Harlan also directed a movie that we will be watching later on this season, A Long Kiss Goodnight.
Oh,
And
which
that's
is
why-
an excellent.
And that's why Samuel L. Jackson enthusiastically
Oh, that's
said
right.
yes to this movie.
Got it.
This guy did
Cool, cool, cool.
Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger
Yeah.
was fun.
Okay, so before Brian just goes off rattling his filmography, this
Class
was
Reunion
written,
3.
This was written. I thought Kai was saying it took a village to write it because it was written by Duncan Kennedy, Donna Powers, and Wayne Powers. In the trivia section of IMDb, it actually said that it had up to 9 people in it, but those are the only 3 that got the actual credit on the film.
Something about that tracks, though.
Yes. How do we feel about this? How do we feel about the script? How do we feel about essentially it's Alien, but underwater?
But way not as good.
But I'm saying
Yeah.
concept-wise.
Yeah.
The plot
Well-
of this was so fucking stupid. It was so dumb. And yes, I understand that I'm the one who picked this movie. But the idea of like a scientist genetically, I mean, I don't even know, like essentially genetically altering the brain of sharks, and then somehow they end up to be like 3 or 4 times the size of actual sharks, but then they're
Yeah.
using the sharks to cure Alzheimer's.
Yep.
Or was it dementia? I think it was Alzheimer's, right?
Alzheimer's.
And just the plot was.
Can
really
I
dumb.
ask you, Brian?
Yes,
Why did you
can.
pick this movie?
I'll give you a few reasons.
Okay.
The first one, I had remembered finding this more enjoyable when I was younger. This movie
course.
came out in like 1999. I think I was 15. Dav has seen this movie a lot and always talks about how fun it is. But she also skips through all the shark attack parts.
But that's wait. I would just want to go back. Dov watches this a lot and doesn't
Well, not
watch
like a
most
lot,
of
but
the
has
movie.
seen it a bunch.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I guess.
Is
but
this
yeah,
a movie that plays on TV? Do you guys have cable?
No, we just have Apple TV. Like, I don't think it's like a
okay.
recent type of thing as much.
Okay. Got it. She's just
I
seen
do
it a
think this
ton.
movie played a lot on cable, though. Like, I
I'm
could think
sure
about,
it
like,
still
early
does.
2000s, this was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
I
was
feel
on
like
a lot.
it probably still does.
I paid to rent this, and I'm like, there are actors out there that got a check and are like, really? People are still watching this?
I watched it on
it's
Pluto TV for free.
Pluto TV for free.
I didn't want to do that.
The commercials were a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want
yeah.
to make this longer than it needs to be.
It added like 20 minutes
It
to
took
the
me
movie.
6 hours to watch this movie because I would stop, walk away, and go do something else for a while before I was like, okay, here we go again.
Kai, once again, reminding the listeners that it takes her a long time to watch these movies and that she's usually doing something while watching said movies.
No, I don't. Not always. I sat all the way through Hello, Darling. Thank you, darling. Oh, my darling.
Don't worry,
Don't worry,
darling.
darling. And Charlie's Angels. But it was only okay. But sorry, continue, Brian.
I think I was done.
Oh, okay. So I will say that the reason that I said that this, what did I say this is?
Bad good.
It's a bad good movie is so I think the way that the plot feels pretty freaking stupid, but I like the kind of idea in theory of people experimenting on
Animals? Oh my
for
gosh.
a good reason, and shit goes wrong. So just that basic idea as a device for a film, I really like how it was executed. The fact that the fact that, like you said, these sharks are so much bigger, so their brains are that much bigger, which means they are smarter. They literally say that somewhere in the movie, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we all know the size of our brains, and we only use half of them. So size doesn't mean shit when it comes to actual brain use.
We only use up to half that at one time. We use all of our brain, but at different times and different portions of our.
We just don't use all of it ever.
I mean, I'll
Again,
agree
Kai,
with you.
Kai spitting that scientific knowledge here.
Knowledge. I told you that I was intelligent when we started this podcast today.
I'll give you.
I also
that
told
if
you I got stoned and watched Avatar this afternoon. So maybe there's some side effects from that coming.
Very basic idea of the plot. Okay, I'll give you that. But then if somebody actually sat me down and was like, scientist genetically engineers shark to be extra smart so they can cure diseases, I'd be like, well, that's pretty fucking dumb.
They said they didn't do it to make the shark extra smart. That was a side effect.
Right. I mean, they basically needed to tamper with their brains or something so that they had more
they
I don't
wanted
know, proteins or something. I don't even
Protein.
know.
They needed
Yeah.
to make it bigger so they could harvest more protein at one time.
Right.
So essentially, and this is a plot question I genuinely don't know. The cure for Alzheimer's in this movie naturally is in sharks. They
I
didn't
think that's what
create
they're
that,
saying.
right? They just genetically modified it in order to get more of it,
Yes.
Touche.
as opposed to getting 10 sharks.
Touche. That doesn't work there. Yes, I think so.
That's true. Why couldn't they have just gotten a lot of sharks?
Yeah.
Why did they need one big shark
Because then
brain?
it couldn't. Because then it couldn't.
I think.
Oh, but then
because it
you'd
was so
have 10 smart
challenging.
sharks.
Yeah. But I thought it was because, well, I assumed it was because it was so challenging for them to like wrangle the shark and get the shark up.
I don't know. I
And-
mean, he had no trouble in that first scene in the movie.
Can we talk about that first scene when the wine
Yeah.
falls in?
That pissed me
And
off.
then yeah. So I wanted to look that up because I was sitting there and I was
the
like,
very first scene of the
Yeah,
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
so the movie opens with a bunch of horny
Two
teenagers,
couples.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, on their dad's boat. And
Hey, you don't know.
wines-
Don't judge them.
Okay, sorry. On their mom's boat. And the wine bottle tips over and wine falls into the ocean, and then a shark comes.
Well, no, the
and
wine bottle
tries to
tipped
kill
over
them.
because the shark hit the bottom of the boat first and knocked the wine bottle
Yes.
over. The shark was already there.
Yeah. It didn't come
Are we
because
sure?
it smelled the wine. Positive.
Yeah.
Because I actually, this is for later, but I actually liked that shot and the wine falling
wine.
into the water because I was like, ooh, fun. It's like the same like red color we would see with blood, but it's not blood, so that's like a fun.
So my thought, like my thinking during that was like, well, this shot is dumb because it's not blood. So like it makes no difference to the shark.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the only one that thought that. There was a whole article where the director like talked about why they had that shot in there. And it was to show that the shark was so smart that it wasn't relying on their natural like senses anymore, like a normal shark
Right.
would. It is bridging the gap to like humans of like acting under assumptions like humans do.
Right.
So,
well, I got
and
that.
I was like,
I got
that-
something was up with the shark from that, not from the wine, but from the fact that it knows that there's humans on this boat and is like
Yeah.
smacking itself into the boat.
but
you
the
know.
shark is so smart that it confuses wine for blood.
Essentially,
it didn't.
according to what the director. No. That was the intention of that shot,
Oh.
according to the
Yeah,
director.
according to what Travis said, the director said, that's what it sounds like. I was annoyed that nobody got killed in that scene. Just throwing that out
But
there.
everybody else gets killed throughout the rest of the movie.
I actually
those
didn't
kids
mind that
deserved
because
it.
it subverted our expectation of. You're thinking like, okay, they're gonna. How do you
We're gonna
one
see a
up?
bunch of shark attacks, and people are gonna continuously get saved.
Not just that, but like when we're talking about shark movies, we're all like every shark movie is trying to beat Jaws, right? And like Jaws is still the king of all shark movies. And how do you make a better opening scene than the opening scene to Jaws, which is like a near, like it's perfect. And the way you do that, I think what they were trying to go for is you subvert the expectation of like you think this is going to be a Jaws movie, but it's not. It's more than that. I'm not saying it's effective. I'm just saying I think that was their thought process.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So just since we're on plot, I think the only real thing that I have to say about plot is the fact that we are watching this shark throughout the last half of the movie bang itself, or one of the three sharks bang itself through steel doors, these massive doors on this ship, or cement land mass,
Facility.
whatever it was, facility. Yet the whole time there was a fence. And
no,
the
so what
It's
they were
shark
saying,
titanium.
couldn't get out of the fence.
no, what they were saying was the fence below ground was like some titanium, or
titanium.
steel or something. It was
So
only
it
the
needed
fence
to
above
flood the
ground.
thing to get.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were
Copy.
actually super smart.
I did not. That part escaped me. So thank you.
Yeah.
In the end, we find out that the sharks were hurting the people how they needed in order to sink the facility, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah,
they,
basically.
they were moving the people within the facility in order for them to flood it so that that gate that was above water essentially goes beneath
below
water, and then
water.
But
they
if you
could.
think about it, though,
Either
it
charge
only
at it or
actually
just
happened
swim over it.
because there happened to be a storm going when the guy needed to be medevaced out. Because if he wasn't,
Yeah.
there happened to be this malfunction with the cabling system on the helicopter that allowed the sharks to grab the guy in the stretcher and crash it into the thing and crash the helicopter. Otherwise, this shark's plan would not have worked. Give
Then
him
we're
credit
going
for being
under the
opportunistic.
assumption that the sharks planned this to happen at this point. It could have just been like, we'll wait for the next opportunity. And
Maybe
then
they're
this
so
is when
smart that they plan the weather.
Hey.
Holy shit.
Maybe they had some genetically modified superpowers that happened so that they could be in control of the weather with all the
Maybe they
science
actually
stuff
even
that was
changed the
happening.
pilot's schedules so that they knew that the pilot for the helicopter were going to be
Look at you.
dumb.
Yeah.
Damn. They are smart.
Okay. See, guys? This is why it's a bad, good movie.
Could have been so much more. Could have been
Can
so
we
much
talk
more.
about the dialogue for a second?
Yeah.
How
So yeah,
wonderful
to
it
wrap up the
was.
whole thing that happens, they try to get one guy out who gets his arm bitten off, and then the sharks are like no, and they like take the helicopter and throw it into the facility, and then the facility just continues to crumble, and then they try to survive, and that's it. Let's move on to dialogue because that's what happens in the movie.
The dialogue is awful. It's so corny. Just like the way they talk and the things they say are just so corny and so cliche. Every single character is some type of cliche. I can't remember what his name is, the guy who swims with sharks in the beginning, Thomas Jane's character.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hated him so much.
Who looks just like Aaron Eckhart? Doesn't anybody
Yeah,
think
he
that?
kind of does, actually.
So much.
I could
You're
see
gonna
that.
have to put a link to a side by side in the
Yeah.
description as well. So much so that when the movie started, I was like, Aaron Eckhart's in this, and then I was like,
I like Thomas Jane
not
and
who
hate
that is.
Aaron Eckhart, so that's why I'm like, no, they don't look alike because I wouldn't say that about Thomas Jane.
I like them both.
Yeah, I'm fine with them both. I haven't seen Thomas Jane in that much.
Right, Aaron Eckhart.
He was in Punisher.
Usually.
He was in The
Yeah.
Mist.
I thought that was Aaron Eckhart and Aaron Eckhart.
You're joking.
I
Thomas
am
Thomas
joking. I
Jane
am
played
joking at this
Two-Face.
point, but
Thomas Jane played Two-Face in Batman, though, right?
no, that was Aaron Eckhart.
No. Kai, stop it. You're high.
I'm not high. I'm just
I hated
Messing
his
with
character in
you.
this movie, though.
well because it's just one note too, which
Yeah,
is like
they're all
that's,
one
he
note.
never changed. They're all one note.
Was there a character that
Yeah.
we liked other than the shark?
Preacher is so
See-
cheesy. Everything LL Cool J says, and the fact that he like hangs out with that bird all the time, and
The
he
bird was the only
so
character I liked.
cheesy. But I feel like at least with him, they were like, let's embrace this cheese. And I didn't hate Samuel L. Jackson's character.
He was Samuel.
Because it's good old Sammy.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
and the what's her name? The like doctor.
Which one?
The like head scientist.
Oh, Dr. Susan
Robbins.
McAllister, played by Saffron Burrows.
Saffron Burrows. Yeah, she
The
was
scene
also
where she had to
pretty
strip down to her
one-note.
underwear and bra
of
for some reason.
Of
But
course.
it made total sense, you guys. It made total sense.
that scene in particular.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know whose character I did like? Michael Rappaport.
I was just about to
I
say.
love Michael Rappaport
Yeah.
in everything though.
I
Everything.
saw him do stand up maybe like 6-8 weeks ago, and he was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he's the goat.
Trying to get him to sound super smart though was a
Yeah,
struggle
that's
for
not
this. Like,
plausible.
he's
Like
like
he went to Caltech. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
that was when I caught it too. I was like, this man went to Caltech, and like,
Yeah.
super funny.
that, and then like they throw jargon in there that like maybe. Look, this movie came out when I was like 8. Maybe the 8-year-old Travis wouldn't have known what he was saying, but he's like, there's just saying big words, but not saying like super smart things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
give or take a
He's like-
centimeter.
Well, 2 + 2 does equal 4, and everyone's like, this guy right
The
here.
addition of the numeral 2 plus the numeral 2 equates to the numeral 4.
Yeah, more like there. There you go.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny about the script. I'm like, which the casting is more the acting standpoint, but like, I don't know if it's a product of we know who Michael Rappaport. I don't know how big he was at this time. So like,
I don't
what
think
if
he
this
was, though.
He had
Like-
done True Romance for sure.
Had he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. True Romance was 96.
When was this movie?
99, right?
99.
99, I think.
Oh, well, then this is a great movie for 99.
That changes
Just joking.
everything.
Everything.
True Romance was 93. Oh my gosh.
It's an old movie.
It's older than I thought.
I felt like at one point what the fuck was the point of LL Cool J's character? And then he sort of becomes like the hero, I guess, at the end.
Yeah.
But like
Well-
for most of the movie, I was like, man, his character was just not necessary.
No, his character is the most necessary because his character goes back to what I was talking about is the only thing that I liked about the plot of this,
The
which
bird?
is the initial idea
Oh.
that like God and Mother Nature don't fuck with them, they'll turn around and fuck with you. And LL Cool J's character is religious and the whole time is like, I know you're wrathful and I know he's talking to God. So there's this whole, he's like the B story of the plot, which essentially is like, don't fuck with God and Mother Nature. So I actually thought that's
Yeah.
why his character
Yeah.
was in the movie.
We
Or,
need to
like-
look
and why
aside.
he's the one that lives at the end.
Yeah, and we need to like disregard the fact that like there's like 7 people in this whole facility, and they have a fine dining chef for some reason.
Sure.
Like that's where all the money's going. Why do you have a chef with this big
Dude,
old kitchen?
when he leaves his video at the end,
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's like,
yeah.
I tried to
About
be a
this-
good father, I tried to be a good husband.
That was funny.
What can I leave to the world? And then he starts the perfect omelet is,
It's so funny though too because Janice told me that same thing.
which
That
is
is with
so
2
funny
eggs,
because
not 3.
but he also says
To
use
don't cut it with cream.
right, which I actually do, and then I was like,
Oh, I
no,
don't. Yeah.
Look at me.
We learned how to make omelets for for the job that Kai and I had many years ago.
Nice.
For catering, we would go to photo shoots and make
Set up omelet bars.
omelet bars. Thank you. Sorry, I was struggling there.
Did anybody else, speaking of kitchen stuff, I loved the bird. Hold on, I wrote down something he said, or he or she, the bird. Oh, the bird goes to LL, you've got a fat butt.
I don't remember that.
It was like one of the first things he said. It said, but it's very unsanitary to have a bird in a kitchen.
It's very unsanitary. Yeah, to have any animal in the kitchen. Yeah.
I love that.
One thing that
you
did
thought
crack me
that,
up, the
'cause
first time that you
you're
see
right.
LL Cool J on camera, the soundtrack is playing an LL Cool J song in the background.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna talk all about the song. I wrote down some of the lyrics.
Oh,
but
I didn't hear
feel
the
Are
like
you,
lyrics,
are
that's
you
but
talking
we'll
about
get into
his
that
song
later.
for
Yeah, his song
his song for the movie?
for the movie.
Brian's talking about the song that's playing in the kitchen when the
Oh, it is an LL song. It's
Yeah.
not the specific
yeah,
one for the movie.
Not that I'm aware of. I know the closing credit song was one he did for the movie.
The Deepest Bluest
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
it's called.
That's
My head is like a
deep.
shark fin. Deepest blue.
Yes,
It's like a
yes,
shark.
yes, yes.
That's
yes.
deep. That shit's deep.
It's deep.
It's also blue.
Yeah. I think that was it. I was going to talk about how unsanitary it is to have a bird in the kitchen. What if it shits in your food?
That,
That's
so
the extra spicy sauce.
That's how you make a good omelet.
That's the special sauce. He's like 2 eggs, not 3, and don't cut it with cream, cut it with bird shit.
you both bringing up Preacher, and then Kai, you bringing up the fact that Preacher's talking about like nature and like how like not to play God. That reminded me that this movie was essentially Jaws and Jurassic Park merged together. Like
Yeah,
they're
kind
asking the
of.
same thing. They're like
It's basically Jurassic Park at sea.
But with way more explosions. Like this movie was so many, or like not just explosions, but like action packed
Are we sure that Michael Bay
every
didn't
5
direct this?
seconds. I felt like, at least with Michael Bay, I'm like, I guess it was 99. We'll get there. Should we move on to acting?
Yes, let's move on to
Sure.
acting, which I feel like we already discussed. But
Did we discuss it? We discussed the dialogue.
Okay, how do we feel about acting?
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
Most of them are bad.
I think the only standout is Samuel L. Jackson because I feel like he knew what he was in.
Yes.
So
And he
yeah.
does movies like this. He did Snakes on a Plane.
That was lit. So that was the other interesting thing. I was looking at his filmography, and I feel like this movie is the start of Samuel L. Jackson as a caricature of himself. This is like
Interesting.
from this on is when we get the like yelling Samuel L. Jackson that everyone like knows and like thinks about. And like, yeah, he yells in like Pulp Fiction before this, but like it's still a lot more grounded, like in
that's
that
a,
world.
yeah, that's a
of the
different
Yeah.
type of
film.
yelling.
He's in like Goodfellas, and like he's not
Yeah.
yelling in that or whatever. But like this is the start of like the Samuel L. Jackson that we know of and that like Dave Chappelle like makes fun of.
Right,
You know?
right.
I felt like, yeah, I mean, Samuel L., it's hard for me to ever say he's bad because he's Samuel L.
Yeah.
And I love him. I think, Kai, you might have said this earlier, that LL, I actually felt like was kind of almost played it like he was in on the joke. So like, even though I wasn't a big fan of his character, I thought his acting as the character was decent.
I
and then
didn't think he was ever actually scared, though.
And why was he always
can you
cold?
be
He was
scared once?
always
Yeah,
the
agreed.
only one that was cold.
Yes.
Every single time you saw him, he's like,
that's true.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Nobody
and
else.
I'm like, no one else is cold. So I'm like,
But-
I don't know if he's like, is he the brilliant actor because this is
Right.
ocean water?
Or maybe
Yeah,
he was
true.
just like, I actually am cold.
I did have the thought of like, I feel like at this point,
Yeah.
I did have the thought of like, I would have taken my chef's coat off because it like makes me swim slower.
And
like,
the
if I'm
chef, the
true.
there's a close-up shot of them, like him and Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does that sound? I would just keep wanting to call him Aaron Eckhart. Crawling out of the water at the end, and it's like LL Cool J's big butt, as you said, or it said that the bird says, crawls out of the water, and like he's wearing the black stripy chef pants too, and it cracked me up to like,
Yeah.
you know.
I was trying to look up if this was his first movie, but it was not. He had come out in Halloween H2O at this point.
Oh, dude, another great movie.
I actually think of the Halloween movies, it's up there in the top like 5
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay,
hate
top
that one,
5.
of the Halloween franchise. Yeah,
which there's like
Okay.
18.
That's true.
How
There
many
are
are
like
there?
72.
and there's if we're including the Rob Zombie ones.
Oh, like 84.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're talking about acting real quick, can we please talk about the job that the bird did as an actor? It's fantastic.
Can we talk
you.
about the fact that the bird's name was just Bird?
They also, I read, had
I
2
liked
birds because I guess the budget was so low that they couldn't afford to hire like a professional trainer and bird. So they just had one bird that was good at sitting on shoulders and one bird that was good at flying.
There's birds that
Okay.
are bad at flying.
Well,
I guess it
It's
wasn't
the
good
one
at
thing
sitting.
that they do.
Well, it might not be bad at flying, but it might have been bad at sitting, and the other one was good at sitting, but also good at flying. So it was a more well-rounded bird.
there we go. Or
I just
wings
feel like
get
if you have a
clipped,
low
maybe
budget-
maybe the sitter has clipped wings, so it can't fly.
Ooh, poor bird.
I just
Don't
feel like
you
if the
always
budget's
need a
small,
pet wrangler on set?
if the budget's small, just get one bird. Not
Well, I
pay
guess
for
you get 2
Then
cheap
you got to
birds
think
instead
about
of like one
food for
highly
2.
trained bird.
What was the budget on this movie?
I don't know.
I did look at it earlier, and I don't remember. So while you guys talk, I will research.
I will say something about the acting, and maybe this has to do. No, it doesn't have anything to do with budget. But everything felt a little one note, and nobody seemed afraid enough. Like someone would die and get eaten, and no one would react to it. But the movie itself didn't react to it either. The music didn't drop in those moments. It was like we're just moving on to the next thing, which like that is very different from Alien or from Jurassic Park or from Jaws, where all those movies are good because you care about the characters, one, and then it gives you the moment to sit in it and be like, oh my God, So there's some aspect of this where I think maybe they did know what this movie was and they were just sort of embracing the camp and cheese of it. But
That's too much credit.
they just giving too much credit. But I also think with these actors and this type of thing happening, I think there's a lot more actors these days that are used to like, okay, there's a lot of green screen and there's a lot of you're going to be acting
true.
at things that are not actually happening. Whereas back then this was still a very new concept. So there was a lot of like, I'm giving it too much credit. Okay, what's the budget?
The estimated budget, according to IMDb, was $60 million. Its opening weekend, it made a whopping $19 million.
Was this a flop?
million?
19
Yeah, this is like
million.
a bad movie.
The
I
US
didn't know it was a
gross-
flop though, because
The US gross
some
was
movies.
73.6 million. Worldwide gross was about 164 million.
Are you sure you're not looking at The Deep Blue Sea?
I am positive. So going back to something that you said, Kai, every single character was one note and so cliche. And it was like, it was not surprising, but it was kind of annoying to watch. Like you've got, like I said, like you had Thomas Jane's character who's like the dark, brooding wannabe hero. And then you have Michael Rappaport who's like the comedy but smart guy. And then LL is LL. It's just like every single character was just such a cliche.
Right.
Such
They
a
each-
cliche.
Shay.
Yeah.
They each had their
Yes.
place.
Yeah. Sorry, this is going back to plot, and I know that I feel like we're done talking about acting. Can either of you explain to me why Samuel L. Jackson's character was there?
So he was the head of the company that was funding the doctor's
Correct.
research, and he basically was like, "You're out of time." She said, "Give me 48 hours or whatever
Yeah.
it is."
The
So I
reason
think
they
he
were
went
out
there.
of time, though, was because of the opening scene. Because this was one of their sharks that got loose and came into the human world and attacked this boat.
Yeah.
So then their asses were on the line, essentially.
And I think he was there
But I
just to
just feel
see
like
the
his
research
whole
firsthand.
character, his whole character is the like personification of like this could have been an email. You know, like he
Well,
really
it was
didn't need to be.
It was
there.
1999. Email was not
They
really
had
like
email
a
back
thing.
then.
They
Yeah, but it was
had
not like a
floppy
business,
disks.
really.
I loved
Yeah,
that
like they
close-up
could have
shot
loaded
of her
up.
pulling out the
They could have loaded up
floppy
all
disk.
this
It's like,
data on
oh,
a
my
floppy disk
childhood.
and sent the floppy disk. Like
He
I-
wanted to see for himself
Yeah.
what they were running here.
that was the other thing. So much of what was told to him was clearly exposition for the audience, but in the world and as the character, I'm like, he really doesn't know any of this. Like he's overseeing this, and they're giving so much money. He doesn't know
Listen,
any
man,
of this.
he's the
No,
kind of
he's
guy
just
that's got a
throwing
He doesn't
lot.
know how far
something.
down this facility is.
He's
Like,
got
he
a
doesn't
lot of
know-
balls juggling in the air, man. He can't know everything
Yeah,
about everything.
This is not the only business.
There's a lot of
venture he
balls.
has. Okay.
There's a lot of balls, you guys.
Okay.
So many balls.
Okay, sorry.
Sammy J has big balls and lots of them.
He's got a lot of balls in the air.
Okay, moving on to technical.
Yeah, this will be fun.
How do you feel about technical? That includes everything from score to editing to visual effects to.
Yeah, where should we start? Which aspect should we start with?
Let's start on the good. Production design. I felt like it was very why I think this is a good bad movie is I feel as though I had a little bit of fun watching this. And I do feel like they're running down the corridor and like the water's like coming after them and all that. And I'm just like, this feels like Hollywood. This
Yeah,
feels
it's
like
popcorn
I'll give you that.
movie.
Yeah.
this feels like a Hollywood backlot where they built this whole thing and like I was like, this is good. Like this isn't just people on nowadays.
It'll all just be green screen.
Yeah, like you take Avatar or you take like what Disney's doing with like a lot of the Star Wars projects and like The Mandalorian, where they have like this big screen that is literally rendering the entire background and actors are just in one like studio thing. And I feel like I found a lot of fun in that. I found a lot of fun in what they built and how they made this facility and how the actors were able to like react with it. And there was an animatronic shark. Like it wasn't all CGI.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. I
I'll
don't know
agree
how
with
you
that.
two felt.
Yeah, I thought like the actual set and even just like the structure of what their whole like facility was in, wherever they were out in the ocean. Like, yeah, I thought it looked kind of cool. It definitely gave me Waterworld vibes, but I guess it's just because it was like a floating mini city, maybe. But
If they had a Dennis Hopper character in this movie, I would have
It would've
totally
been
given
so
it
much
a
better.
good bad. Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. Like, I thought the sets looked pretty good. Some of the practical effects I thought were pretty solid. So yeah, I will
Yeah.
agree with that.
Seeing the helicopter come like crash and all that, I'm like, I feel like I'm on the Universal Studios like
Yeah.
tram tour.
I
And, like,
thought that too. And I
yeah.
actually really I enjoyed the first half of the movie. And I enjoyed getting to know the world, even though you're right, it's totally expository with
Yeah,
Samuel L. Jackson's character. I wanted to know about what was going on. I liked knowing, like, when they're in the elevator and there's like, ooh, there's different levels and how deep this thing goes and like how crazy, and the idea that the military built it for blah blah blah. Like, I was actually getting into the story, but then it just becomes like killing after killing and explosion and water and this and that, and no one's reacting to it appropriately. That I was like, I can't anymore. But for what you're saying visually, it was cool.
We all agree that that's a good. We could talk about the bad, which is the CGI probably, and the shark.
Yeah. There were times where I was watching it, and maybe it was because there were actual animatronic sharks, but there were times where I was watching it, and also keeping in mind that this was over 20 years ago. So technology is not what it is now. But there were times that I was watching it, I was like, oh, that's actually like halfway decent given the times. And then like the shot would cut to a different angle or something, and I'd be like, oh, well, that looks fucking trash. It was so weird. It was like such a juxtaposition. And maybe again, it was because some of the shots were the animatronics, so it looked a little bit better, but like there were some of the shots that looked CGI that you'd be like, oh, this is not bad, and then literally next shot, oh, never mind.
I think the animatronic looked really good.
Yeah, I liked
I would
that
even
part
say
of it
that it
too.
looked better than like the Jaws animatronic, which obviously was like, 20 years even before
before
this,
that,
Yeah.
and was notoriously like really terrible to work with.
Yeah.
I just wish they used more of the animatronic. Like there's clearly some scenes that I personally feel as though it was like, we have this technology, so we're gonna like use it to show it off, and like,
Well, right. But that's kind of always, but definitely of that time too, because how cool. People like wanted to come to the theater to see that specifically, right?
like there's this shot towards the end when where she's like wading in the water, and it's like full CG, like her legs too. And I'm like, why couldn't you just shoot her legs in the water with like the animatronic shark in the distance?
Yeah.
But instead they did a full CG shot, and I'm just like, we don't need this.
I mean, I do wonder, and again, like part of the reason that I said that I chose this earlier was because I had a recollection of enjoying this movie, and maybe it's because 15-year-old Brian in 1999, like the CGI worked better. Like we look at everything with different eyes now, so it's a little bit hard to kind of judge it that way.
I will actually say this is my first time ever seeing this movie. So if I had seen this when I was in middle school or whenever, just younger, I think I totally would be like, I love this movie, but this was my first time seeing it, so it's a little challenging for me to feel that way now.
Yeah.
It's tough when you're in your 60s.
It is.
Yeah.
I can't be the only one getting made fun of for being old, even though I'm older than you.
I was gonna make fun of Kai because of her movie selections, but I mean, I chose
that's
not
fair.
to. I just feel like there's a lot of movies where you're like, I liked it, even now.
There are, but they're mainly for the reason I just stated of like, it's just, something from my past that I was like, oh, cool at the time. And
Can we
then
talk
I've
about the
seen
score?
better stuff since.
I was just about to say,
Please.
thoughts?
I hated it.
Oh,
Ditto.
It felt like the type of music, and it wasn't even necessarily like the music itself. Like if you took it out of context, it's probably fine. But it felt to me like everything was trying to force drama and force emotions.
But not necessarily at the right time, I felt like.
Right.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
didn't hate the score, the actual music either. But
Yeah.
that's what I was saying with like the, someone would die crazy death, like how Samuel L. Jackson dies. But there's no music. It's like there's no swelling score and then everyone's crying or like, oh, fuck, and the score rises. It was like totally weird.
Yeah. What I wrote down at one point, that the music is so overdramatic and it makes the movie feel more campy and corny because of the way it was used. Like I understand sort of what they were going for, but it just didn't work.
I like the score. When I did notice it, it was like probably the standard Hollywood, like they're running down the corridor and like, ba-ba-da.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I knew I was going into it very much like this is so bad that it's going to be good. So I don't think I was giving those scenes as much weight as like maybe you were, who were seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, although I knew from just looking at the poster that what I was
I think
getting
the
into.
poster's good. It makes it look like it's the top-notch thriller movie, sort of.
The poster is pretty funny looking, actually.
The poster plus the fact that
she does
LL
have
Cool
cleavage in
J
it.
was in it. Not that like, but when they start putting pop artists or like, you know, into movies, it's because
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I just remembered something about the plot that I had forgotten about earlier, looking at my
Should we
notes.
move on to nitpicks then?
Okay.
I feel like it's going to be a nitpick, right?
Okay, so at the end, she cuts her hand and jumps in to go to sacrifice herself, but also sort of not, because she also does try to swim away at the end. But so Thomas Jane's character starts running, right? And all he has to do to save her life is shoot the shark with the spear in his hand. But he drops the spear and jumps in the water to try to save her. You had a gun
I
in your
was already
hand.
checked out of it at that point, but I didn't know.
What are you
like,
doing?
What the fuck? Yeah.
What are you doing? And then, then I forget exactly how this happens, but he ends up like riding on the shark's fin, right? And then LL picks up the spear gun, shoots the shark, but it goes through the shark's fin into Thomas Jane's leg. And then when he somehow electrocutes the shark or whatever, Thomas Jane just has like a little cut on his leg. The way he got ripped out, his leg would have been ripped in half. And he probably wouldn't have survived that explosion underwater. That was the most insane explosion either. The shark blew up like an A-bomb from a little like electricity
Well,
shock.
he was 8,000 pounds, Brian. So that's 8,000 pounds that's 8 tons of, that's 8 tons of sushi just flying up into the air.
Right. Yeah.
Fine. All the more reason Thomas
Cool
Jane's
J
character
makes
should have
note
died.
of.
Yeah.
And then I got one more nitpick. When he's swimming with the sharks in the very beginning, when LO first gets to the facility, you see him swimming underwater. And actually, funny side note, I was reading that there was one shot where he actually in real life swam with sharks, but apparently they waited to film that until the end, until all of his other scenes were done. I'm assuming in case he accidentally got eaten by a shark or something, they still had the movie in the can, is what I'm assuming. But so in that scene, he's got flippers on, like, you know, like scuba flippers or whatever.
What kind of flippers?
He gets out like scuba flippers.
What are those?
You know, like
Like
scuba flippers.
I'm joking.
Scuba flipper. Yeah, like a scuba flipper.
Okay.
But then he gets out of the water.
Scuba?
And then
You want the scuba?
I hate you both. I hate you both. I hate you both. I quit. So he gets out of the water and he meets LL. He's wearing sandals, like Tiva sandals. Remember Tiva sandals?
I don't know. I
What the
don't know these
fuck?
white people things. What are Tiva sandals?
you still
they're
don't
dad
know?
sandals.
Okay.
What?
I mean, I had some back in the day,
I
but
still
my dad
have
still does.
some. If you go hiking and outdoors, Tiva is like
That's okay. I
the
have Crocs, so
jam.
it's okay.
Oh, Tiva
yeah, he was wearing
sandals.
flippers.
T-E-V-A.
Yeah.
I I just Googled T-I-V-A.
Tiva.
That's understandable. But yeah, so he's wearing flippers and then he gets out and he's got sandals on. How does that happen?
Oh, yeah.
He changed
These
them
are
on
straight
the
white people
ladder.
sandals. I've never seen these in my life.
They're outdoorsy granola
Oh, yeah. Those are
sandals.
100% dad sandals.
They're
Those are
granola.
white suburb dad sandals. Like, I'm going to throw on my
Suburb
Tiva sandals and run to Costco to get some chicken
No, I feel like
and some
Tivas
samples
are
because
like.
it's Sunday.
And dude, I love the samples at Costco. by
we
the way.
used to
They're
have
fucking
brunch
fire.
on Sundays at Costco. My dad
Just
would
at
be
Costco.
like,
Hell yeah.
"All right, girls, we're going to breakfast," and we'd just sample it up at Costco.
Yeah, the whole movie's a nitpick. I wrote, like, my notes that I did happen to write down essentially were just questions, which I already brought up. Like, which was like, why is he giving all this money and he doesn't know what's happening at the facility?
When you're stinking rich like Samuel L.,
Yeah,
you don't care
you
what
don't
happens with your
care.
money, dog.
My other nitpick was like, why are they going to feed them more sharks when they could just use that shark that they fed them to get the protein out of? Because they were feeding them
Is
tiger
that
sharks.
considered cannibalism?
That too. Like, would a shark eat
Yeah.
another shark?
Do they?
I don't think so. I think they eat like
Like a
seals
smaller
and all that. Yeah.
shark?
I mean, I'm sure there's probably some sharks out there.
multiple species of shark.
Yeah, true.
That's true.
Species or breeds?
Varieties?
Because
Yeah, I guess
shark would be the species, right?
yeah. I've changed my mind. I think this is
Oh,
a good
shit.
bad movie.
Yeah, it is.
Not because
Oh, yeah.
see, here's the thing. I gave you at the beginning, I gave you my answer as a personal answer because I did not enjoy watching this movie. However, I liked the idea of Mother Nature saying, fuck you if you mess with us.
Yeah.
But I think general overall population is like, yeah, this is a fun popcorn movie that I really want to watch and enjoy, but it's stupid, you know? So, so I've changed. You have changed me, fellas. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like
You're
that you were
welcome.
saying you're welcome before I said thank you. That was great.
Yep.
Well, that just about wraps it up then. I don't think any closing thoughts. Cool, none. All right, thank you so much
I'm
for.
just sad the bird died.
Oh.
I
We don't
thought,
know. Did the
I
bird
know.
die? Oh,
Yeah,
shark
yeah.
ate the bird.
No,
Yeah.
it got eaten.
I will say
Yeah.
there were so many. One of the other reasons I really enjoy watching this movie is so much happens that is so idiotic that you can't possibly retain it all.
Yeah.
So this was probably like my
Yeah.
fifth time seeing this movie, and I want to say I saw it maybe 3 years ago was the last time, and I couldn't remember what happens. And I was like, no, the bird's not dead. The bird comes back in the end. And then like, oh, Thomas Jane and the
Nope.
woman totally make out at the end. And like all these things that I thought happened, but I'm like, oh no, they don't. And then I'm like, oh wait, does the shark jump out and like get him in the helicopter and then pull him down and then pull that?
That's what I thought was going to happen too.
I know what my
Yeah.
nitpick is.
What?
No one is ever exhausted.
Well, you're running for your life.
Yes, but then even at the end when the boat is coming up and LL Cool J says the second shift's here or whatever, like say it through pure fucking exhaustion. There was not a moment where any of them were like,
All right.
I can't go on.
Please let us know if you thought this movie was a good, bad, movie, good, bad, or bad, good movie. And you could follow us on all social platforms at goodbad_badgood. You could follow me on all social platforms at Travis_Orozco. You could follow Brian at...
Excuse me, you can follow Lord Brian.
Are you changing all of your handles to Lord Brian?
No, because I still want
Lord
to keep getting.
Bossip.
I want to keep getting the Bossip.com
Oh, yeah,
followers.
right,
so
right,
I'm gonna stick with Bossip on Instagram. Maybe I'll change my Twitter to Lord Brian though.
Yeah, that place is just a
I like
dumpster
Lord
fire wasteland
Bossip.
anyway, so...
Lord Bossip. Ooh, I like that. Lord Bossip.
Kailena Mai on Instagram.
Until next week when we watch 2022's Amsterdam. A Kailena Mai pick. Thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.
Good, Bad, Bad, Good is an Ex Nihilo production. Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.